Everyone is talking about leadership and leadership skills. Where does leadership begin? I'm Linda Katz-Willner, founder and CEO of Successfully Speaking. Today, my guest is Steve Morris. Steve is a certified EOS implementer. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Linda. It's great to be on, and thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about some of the aspects of leadership. But let's first start with certified EOS implementer. What is that exactly?
Well, so Linda, I implement the tools of the Entrepreneurial Operating System. That's what EOS stands for. And EOS is just a complete proven system of a simple set of practical tools that really help our clients figure out, what is the vision for their business, where they're going, how they're going to get there, getting some discipline and accountability in the business, and then finally figuring out how to work together as a really healthy team.
And Steve, I know you've done some other things before this. What brought you to this stage of your career, working in leadership and EOS?
Linda, I've had this deep passion about what it takes to build a really great team. And that comes from the very beginning of my career. In fact, the first job I had out of college was on a professional sailing team. So I really got to experience like what it was like, to be going out sailing with a group of people on a boat, trying to get us to all come together, be on the same page, be on the same boat, sailing in the same direction, in fact, and what that took. And then from there, I actually came to design sailboats. And so I spent many years building and coaching teams to help our clients win some of the world's most demanding yacht races. So I really got to experience like what it was like to be on a really great team where people had each other's backs. They were on the same page. We were all heading in the same direction. But I also got to experience what it was like to be on some teams that didn't make it.
Mm.
And, I've even to the extent seen a $5 million racing yacht broken in half and about to sink beneath the waves because of team dysfunction. So I'm very passionate about helping business owners and leadership teams avoid some of the things that I've experienced in my career.
So it's not just a metaphor, it's actually you have experienced it in person.
Absolutely. Sailing in the same direction. It's a magical thing
Mhm.
when we get everybody aligned in that way.
When it comes to leadership, what would you say are two must haves for a leader?
Well, that's a really great question. I see lots of different types of leaders, and certainly I've had a lot of experience over my career of having leaders show up in different ways. And I think when I boil it all down, and particularly when I'm working with my clients now, there's an aspect of leadership that is about inspiration. And but it's more than just sort of, rally the troops sort of inspiration. It's the inspiration of saying, this is where we're going, right? And pointing out at the horizon. And then having some humility about, I don't know how we're going to get there. And the inspiration is, are you going to come with me? Right? Are you going to go on this journey with me? So to be able to paint that picture, to be able to say this is where we're going, and then to be able to bring people with you, I think is a key. And then I think in that, the bringing people with you aspect of it is challenging and supporting, right? I think those concepts of leadership, I feel, have sort of changed over my career, right, over the last 30 plus years. And this idea now of servant leadership, of really, being able to support a team, to bring a team with you, to be able to challenge a team, and then to be able to give that team what they need,
Mhm.
right, to
Mhm.
be able to go on that journey with you. I think those are incredibly important things.
So you're saying so inspiration,
Mhm.
humility, being able to challenge the team and support them. Did I miss anything?
that was more than the two you asked for. There you go.
But that's great. That's great. So and you mentioned something earlier, Steve, and you talked about accountability. And I think EOS has a big part in this. How
Mhm.
do you drive accountability with an organization that you might be working with?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting concept and a key part of the work that we do. And in EOS, we say accountability is a result, actually. And it's oftentimes when I'm talking with prospects, people are saying, "Yeah, I want more accountability in my business." And I'm like, "Yes, I understand that." And the way that we get there is it's a result, and it's a result of being a leader and doing a certain number of leadership practices in the business, and also being a manager and executing a certain number of management practices in the business. Leadership is about, providing that clear direction, right? As I'm talking about pointing to the horizon, saying this is where we're going to get to. But the management aspect of it is being really clear about the expectations of this is what's going to happen along that journey, and to be able to have the conversation with your
Mhm.
people about what that's going to look like, so we can sort of be working on the business and in the business, those two aspects of it. And when we do those two things, then accountability starts to happen in the business.
And as you said, as the title of what we were going to talk about is leadership starts at the top. So you're saying the leadership is important from the leader. I mean, the accountability is important to start with the leader, but the managers have to buy in as well. And then they all become accountable.
Yeah, yes.
Oh.
And there's an aspect of that sort of starting at the top that, when I start working with clients, I talk about this concept that great leaders are really great parents of their organization.
Mm,
And there's a lot of parallels between sort of being a great parent and being a great leader
mhm.
of the organization, and to be able to, have a few rules, to be able to be very clear and consistent, right? Just all of those things that as a parent, you know, we get to be able to see, like, this is how we manage to, help our kids follow us along and grow. Those same things we need to bring into an organization as well. And it
So,
starts from the top.
so how we manage it and how we learn possibly from mistakes or missteps that there's a
Mhm.
better way to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think there's, and that there's, I talked about this, before, like there's this humility, right? And which is to, not say that you've got all the answers, and that you know everything, but that you're willing to learn, and yes, willing to be vulnerable, willing to make mistakes, but then being willing to fess up to that and say, hey, I did something wrong, I made a mistake, but to fix it, to repair it, and then to continue forward.
So then leadership starts at the top, but from below, that can help the leadership adjust to certain situations. So it's not just top down. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we really see that the conversation needs to be two ways,
Mhm.
right? And so I think this is another aspect about being an effective leader, is actually creating an environment where you can have a conversation where, in fact, as a leader, you are asking more questions than you are talking, right? Telling, if you
Mhm.
like. So we talk about this thing of, you need to get the question to statement ratio right, and that's more questions, less statements
Mm.
from the leader. But then what you're wanting to do is to have your direct reports, your team, be able to then talk, and to give you feedback back, to be able to create an environment of psychological safety where they're able to raise their hand and say, hey, there's something I'm stuck with. I need help with something. It's a
Okay.
critical thing.
So here's a question I have for you. Let's say you're preparing for a conversation as a leader. You're preparing for a conversation with a direct report. What do you do to prepare?
So in EOS, we've got some specific tools that we help our leaders to do things like preparing. And so this is where the sort of the beauty of having a holistic system comes together. So we start off by talking about core values in a team,
Mhm.
right? And so this is really about describing the culture of the organization, who we are at our core. So one aspect of preparing for a meeting is to think about how is my direct report doing with exhibiting the core values. Are they exhibiting most of the time, some of the time? Where they're doing well, and where is there room for improvement? And then we talk about um, the priorities of the organization, like where we're trying to get to in terms of the priorities, and making sure that that direct report, has the tools and the resources that they need for priority, be able to execute on the priorities. So that's a place to prepare. And then also talking about what the expectations are. Like every person within an EOS run organization, we have something called an accountability chart. And so there are functions that are required in the business, and there's a person fulfilling those functions. And so we have a conversation about, what those requirements are, what the roles and responsibilities are within a function. So preparing would also look like, really being able to sort of think about, okay, you know, am I being really clear about my expectations that this is required and this is required, and we need to get this done within the function there. So we provide a structure,
Mhm.
to our clients to be able to prepare for those conversations.
Now, you mentioned the core values. Is that something that the organization establishes before you get involved, or are you helping them determine what their core values are?
Mm. Yeah, oftentimes when I start working with clients, they feel like they do have some sense about their core values, which is great. But I take them through a specific set of exercises and experiences to discover those.
Mhm.
And in some cases, we get to the end of those exercises and we've arrived back at where their core values, were originally stated to be, which is great because we've now reaffirmed that those are truly their core
Mhm.
values. Other times, we find that there are other things that come up because Patrick Lencioni talks about this, an author who's very large in the business world, talks about sometimes you can have core values that might be permission to play core values. And what he means by that is things like integrity and honesty and hard work. Those are kind of given, really. I mean, sometimes they might be exceptional in some particular organizations, but we really want to be able to kind of get past and get deeper on really who are you at your core.
Mhm.
So when I work with my clients, I'm really sort of testing that out, challenging them, supporting them in going through that process.
Mhm. When you work with a client, Steve, how long is that process? Is it months? Is it years? Weeks? Or does it vary?
It tends to vary, but ultimately, when I start working with a client team, I tell them, look, we're going to go on a voyage together. And that voyage is about 2 years long.
Mhm.
It's what it takes to really be able to implement a set of tools in the business, like bake that stuff in so that it just becomes how they run the business. And they've got no idea how they used to do it before. And then they master those tools and they keep building and working towards excellence. And so we set priorities for the business and goals, and then really go on that journey of let's set some challenging goals. Let's try to reach them and to be able to continue to grow the team forward. It takes about 2 years.
So it's like a trip around the world. It's not a quick quick race in the sail in the sailboat.
No, it's a long journey. It's a long journey of growth and learning and mastery and working towards excellence. And it's a lovely thing.
Right. And you sound passionate about it. It certainly fits you well with your experience and what you've done getting to this point.
Mm. Well, it's certainly, yes, coming back to the beginning of my career. I mean, I would work on these projects that were 2 or 3 years, like when we're going to try to win the America's Cup.
Hmm.
And really just that growth over that time of trying to figure things out and get the team together and to be able to learn and to do the research and to bake that into designs. I mean, it's all a process to
Hmm.
train, to be able to really get that team to become a cohesive
Hmm.
team that's got each other's backs.
With
I, I, Mhm.
possible hiccups along the way and how to deal with that.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't have a magic wand.
Right. Now, there's a question I ask everybody who I interview on this series, and that is, what is an essential skill to you that would help a leader, to help somebody speak, sound, look, or act like a leader?
Yes, I think coming back to what I was talking about before, it is providing that inspirational challenge, right, to the team to be able to really say, like, we're going to go somewhere that's going to be difficult. I don't know how we're going to get there, right? To be able to really get everybody on board with that. I think, to be that inspirational challenger for the team. But underneath is that, the EQ, if you like, the emotional intelligence, is to also provide an environment of support. Right?
Mhm.
We can get those two things. I think those are essential qualities that really help a leader be able to take their team to where they need to go.
Right. That sounds wonderful. Something that everybody could benefit from, having a leader like that or being a leader like that. Steve, how can people get in touch with you besides LinkedIn?
So, yep, LinkedIn is perhaps the main place, but I have a website under eosworldwide.com/Stephen-Morris. And people can also reach out to me by email, steve.morris@eosworldwide.com.
And we'll have that information in the comments as people watch this LinkedIn live interview. So we'll have that even afterwards. Steve, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I've always been fascinated with your journey, with the navigation and your journey. And it certainly sounds like EOS is a great way that you can help other companies with your expertise.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me on this LinkedIn Live. And I really appreciate having this conversation and to be able to see if we can reach people and help people see, what becoming a great leader can look like. And
Yes,
so
because
thank
it
you.
takes a lot. Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
And please join us again on December 19th when I interview Allison Shapira. Allison is a keynote speaker, a Harvard lecturer, and founder and CEO of Global Public Speaking, as well as a singer-songwriter. And we're going to then discuss how to lead with your voice. Again, thanks again, Steve. And let's remember how leadership starts at the top.